What's good, everybody? Today it's August 5th. We're going to be running through the entire price action from today, looking at some of the lessons we can take from it. Look at my trade that I took that ended up being stopped at a break even. Why I think it was an okay loss to take, but what I can actually learn from it about price narrative and such. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. All right, everybody, let's start off with some quick little top down, and we'll analyze what I saw going into the morning and why what I ended up seeing didn't end up playing out, and just kind of look at the whole price action from the day. Why, in my opinion, it was not the best time and day to trade, right? So overall, looking at the day, we had this huge liquidity buildup in the previous month, really, and now we saw that FOMC manipulation, that distribution to go run all of that liquidity, right? So at this point right here, right, we had taken our sell side and we're starting to bounce a little bit higher back into the range, right? So now we're looking at this and we're saying, okay, where do we want to? Do we want to potentially move higher? Do we want to potentially continue lower? And from here, when I see this move without much manipulation and much structure, nothing that's looking like this, right? Nothing that's building liquidity and then going ahead and running it to displace to give me something like this. When I just see this kind of slow, lethargic move higher, this tells me that maybe this is going to be an unsustained move to the upside, so we can potentially go ahead and run that, right? So going into the day, I have that thought on the back of my mind, but I don't immediately just act on it. I'm not like, we're gonna go run it today, right? I'm waiting for confirmation, right? If you have a good draw on liquidity, you know that something's gonna get ran eventually, but you don't know when. You're not gonna be the best trader, right? Because I know for a fact that eventually we're gonna go take all-time highs again. But if I just keep longing every single day, I mean, I'm not gonna be making money every single day, right? So I need to know when, I need to know where price is going, and I also need to know when it's going, right? So I need to wait for my confirmation. So at what point could we potentially expect to see price reject back to the area and take these lows, right? And then looking past this low right here, we also continue to have a weekly fair value gap below us. So looking lower, we have this weekly fair value gap sitting right here, aligned with that previous all-time highs, right? So that ends up being an area which we can potentially expect price to pull back to use as a mitigation block, right? So then looking higher, continuing, we're just simply looking to see at which point can we potentially reject bearish, right? So my biggest thing that I was looking at here was the equilibrium of this range, right? So we put in this beautiful range. I'm looking to see equilibrium tapped and potentially some kind of manipulation, rejection, right? So I'm simply waiting for confirmation before I take any kind of trade. So opening the day, we start off with a seek and destroy model in the morning. So 9:30 opens right here, and our seek and destroy model was sitting like this, right? We had Asia high, it's taken by London, Asia low, taken by London, and then London high ends up getting an SMT put in here, then gets this part ran in the morning, right? So we end up seeing, marking that out on NQ, would look something like this. So this is our seek and destroy model, right? So what I'm looking to see is some kind of internal play in the morning before I'm gonna let price build, because right now, looking at this bigger range, there's no generated liquidity, there's no beautiful model that could potentially play out, right? If I want to see a short model, I'm gonna need to see something like this, right? I'm gonna need to see push lower, push higher, displacement through that low. That's what I have in my mind. So because of that, I'm not interested in taking trades once we get back inside this range right here. So I'm only gonna look to take trades in this internal area, right? Let's talk about that, right? So when this high ends up getting put in my mind, I'm still looking at London highs as a target for ESPs. I still want to see that seek and destroy model get fulfilled, right? But we know, of course, seek and destroy model doesn't always get fulfilled. It also goes along with narrative. There can be SMT there, and that can be that manipulation, which is exactly what we saw today. So going into the morning, what did I see, right? Zoom in lower to the 1 minute chart. On open, we end up seeing sell side getting swept right here. And then from there, I see a nice change in the state, complete displacement. I get tapped right here on this level. And the spots that I was looking to potentially take partials here were going to be right at this top tick, because right here, I saw this for value gap. And I saw this high right here being the end of all that generated liquidity right here. So this would be the first potential partial. However, I didn't want to take it because I didn't like taking that with a 1.23R, right? Because if we start taking trades with partials at these low R's, right, over time, our system starts to give us something where I'm taking 50% off my position at 1.23, getting stopped, the rest 50%. That's same as doing 1.23R, divide that by 2. That's same as taking like a 0.6R and taking that every single day. If these are what my trades usually end up being, it's like taking this kind of trade every single day, right? So we don't want to do that, right? So that's why I was looking to see what I was confident with, that high getting taken right about here. So we end up getting a push higher, And then right about at news, I was right here preparing for news, and I was like, I'm gonna just take it off right at break even right here. So I got like -$2 from a little bit of fees, and then we ended up dumping, right? So looking, why did this not work? First, we had that SMT. That shows us that's protected high, right? So that shows us that at this point, price no longer has to pull to that high, and ES doesn't need to seek it, because if it needed to seek it, it would have gone to. Remember, price is perfect. It seeks the most efficient areas, and it does its job efficiently all the time. However, what did we do? We came back up, we tapped this change in the state on that 1 minute change in the state after that manipulation. We end up completing selling back off this model, right? We go ahead and we come back up, we tap the 15-minute change in the state too. So that's another spot at which we ended up tapping that gave us confidence to go for short. And then if you look as well on the hourly, we ended up making a change of the state right here and then going ahead and manipulating that change of the state on NQ. However, we still have it in place, right? So I don't want to see ES go ahead and pull past that change of the state. And if it does, I just want to see that high get swept, right? So after seeing this, this should have been for me and either a no trade filter, or I'm just gonna have to see what price wants to do, right? So looking later in the day, the potential target after this big sell-off would have been, if price wants to continue, I'd want to see equilibrium of this range get hit. And then from there, I would have to look and see if price wants to bounce or if price wants to continue low, right? So drawing out equilibrium here. At this point, right, I'm still looking to see price deliver lower. We see that hourly for value gap get put in. We see retrace back to 50% of this morning range. And keep in mind, this is way after I'm trading, but I'm watching this in class, thinking about it, saying, let me just tape read this, see what it does, right? So looking in, we have retrace to 50%, stop raid, and then we push lower to see some kind of 5-minute change of the state, 15-minute change of the state. I think 15-minute model was the clearest here. So we had 15-minute change of the state right on this point. From there, you guys know my model, I scale into 1 minute or 30-second. So just quickly go to the 30-second. Look what we could have gotten here. So after we see that change of state happen, we see displacement through the level, and we end up taking that right on there. Honestly, this is not the most efficient model for me, because if we look, we had points that we could have gotten faked out beforehand, where we had change in the state right here. However, we didn't have it right here. So maybe look at the 1 minute. Let's look at what we could got change of state here. I think the 1 minute bet would have been the clearest here. If we look, we got change of the state finally on this candle and on this candle too. However, on this one, we didn't end up getting, so there was really no fake out if you were checking the 1 minute as a higher time frame, right? And if you would have looked for further displacement for more confirmation, you still would have got to pull back to that level. So where I would have liked to take my trade would have been right here, stop at that high. You could have got this short playing out a little bit way later into power hour, which is, in my opinion, not the favorite place to go take trades, right? So this would have been take profit 1, probably stop back at break even for partials, but then I would have let the rest go. If we look and we want to draw out some manipulation legs, that's how it would have looked. Fair retracement pulls us to here for -2. Then if we look on the higher time frame, we'll look for some 5-minute kind of manipulation leg. Check out where this brings us. Not really anything anywhere important, right? Looking 15-minute, still not really seeing anything that would actually help us, right? So in this model, there's really no great spot to apply that manipulation leg. However, I mean, this trade, it's in line with the model. It looks like it would have played out. This would have been okay if you took it. However, for me, I only want to be trading those first hour of market open. And I'm okay taking this loss, because from this, I learned a little bit about, trade management. Like, I'm not sitting and I'm not grasping under the trade, because I know that tomorrow we're going to have a great setup, or we're not going to, and I'm not going to care, because doing something with your life besides just trading gives you so much to focus on. Like, having school to focus on, having homework, having class, having friends, having more stress in my life besides just trading gives me other things to put my mind to and actually focus on during the day, right? So that's why right at 10:10 or 11:10 right here, right after I saw this dump to equilibrium, I'm like, bro, there's no trade for me anymore. Like, there is really nothing here for me that I want to see. After I saw this, I'm like, I don't really like anything. Like, looking at this, we had retracing that 15-minute for value. I was looking, could we potentially get a 1 minute short model, right? But even then, after I watched this first one go, right at 11:10, I'm like, bro, I'm gonna watch this one, right? So I didn't place anything, but I'm like, let's just see what this does, see if we can get some tape read. Right when we get that, it's manipulation and it stops us out. And after I see that first stop out, I'm like, bro, I'm gonna let the model go, because I don't have the highest conviction in it and I don't like it the most, right? So I'm not gonna sit there and play with it, kind of, do my thing. Like, that's not what I like to see in models, right? So for me, it just wasn't a great trade. I mean, this day wasn't the highest probability day. There was no great range setup with higher time frame, lower time frame, everything aligning. In my opinion, it was just not the best. So I think the lesson from today is just one of those discipline days. So far, Monday literally opened and just pumped, really providing no opportunity. Tuesday is kind of doing the same thing. However, it made some manipulation at the high. Potentially, you could have got involved on that short. The short I saw some people taking was off that 15-minute for value gap, 15-minute change of state, 1 minute change of the state. You pull back, and then we get a change of the state on that candle. You could have taken it right there, or you could have taken it on this tap back in and then gone for shorts. And I mean, those were left really nice runners, but in my opinion, 10 a.m. news right here. I don't want to be taking a trade, entering a trade on news. I just don't want to. I don't really care how great my draw on liquidity is, how great this is, how great that is. I don't like my trade. I don't like to take it during news, right? So overall, I think today had a super interesting lesson on how to develop as a trader, and it was through discipline, not through recognizing complex market structures, market maker models, anything like that. I think the way to identify this was through discipline today, and saying the structure wasn't the greatest, high time frame structure is not the greatest, so lower time frame structure isn't going to be the greatest. We have to truly come in with great expectations and take what the market gives us, and if it doesn't give us anything on a silver platter, I'm not going to take it. It's that simple. So thank you guys for listening. Hope you guys can learn something from today. If you have any comments, questions, drop them in the comments. I'll be first to answer. I'll let you boys go. Peace out.